Okay, so it is November 20th, and tonight we're going to talk about working with your spouse, building with your partner. You may be like, Hilary, I'm single, I have no spouse. That's totally fine. You might someday, or you might have people on your team that have spouses, and we just want to share with you guys, some of the best tips and things we've learned in how to work with your spouse and how to end up, not killing them while you're doing it. So I'm going to be doing part of it, but Justin's going to be doing a lot of this one tonight. He trains a lot on working with your spouse, and we were just in Canada this past weekend, and he trained like 300 people on working with your spouse. And it's so interesting for me to sit in the back room and listen when he's training, because so many of the spouses that joined, usually it's one of the two is more excited about this when they start, and the other one kind of joins as they build the business along the way. And so it's just great for me to be able to hear all the spouses that, we're not the ones at first getting started saying, oh my gosh, I believe so much more now because of what he said, or I can do it because of what he said. So he's got a PowerPoint. He's going to go off of some of that, and then he's going to just do the rest without the PowerPoint. He's telling me that he doesn't need it, but I think that he needs it. So see, that's part of how it works. It's exactly how it works. So I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint, and then when I go in the other room with Deacon, he may shut the PowerPoint off, but at least it was up for a moment. So what I can tell you, hop up, you got to be quiet. What I can tell you about working with your spouse is that, it just takes patience. You're going to have to take him. Go. It just takes patience, and it takes balance. And so there are days where he does more than me. There are days where I do more than him. There are days where when we started, just so those of you that don't know our story, when we started Isogenics, I was the one who started. I was super excited. I was the one who was on board, wanting to do presentations, doing all the meetings, and Justin was not. And when he comes in here, I'll have him share, his point of view. And so it wasn't that he was negative about the industry. We had just had, a not so great experience. And so that was why he was more protective than anything else. But he's got some great tips on, if you have a spouse that's really not on board, or if you have team members who have spouses that, aren't on board, how to get them more on board, and just kind of some of the steps that helped him, grow in this business. And you guys, 11 years ago, he really wanted nothing to do with it. And this year at Celebration, he was awarded the 2017 Man of the Year. And so it's been a drastic transformation to go from here to here, from A to Z. But, the main thing is when Justin, he really wants to help people, and he really wants to, help more men get involved in this industry, because it is a, more female-dominated industry, and he loves this. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up this PowerPoint, and then I'm going to let him kind of take over. Justin.
No.
Okay, hold on one sec, guys. Okay, there you go, honey. Just click it over. Come on, baby.
How are you guys tonight? Okay, so my name's Justin, like Hilary said, and I started in network marketing with Hilary back in 2001. Okay, she's right. I hate this PowerPoint because I can't see the whole screen. But anyway, I wish I knew how to get it off. But anyway, so I started in 2001 with Hilary in a different company, and actually Hilary started. But when we started, we had no idea. We were so young. I was 21. She was 23. But what was fun about it was a new idea for us. We'd never heard anything, seen anything like that. So we just started going with it. And, of course, Hilary started building a business, and she was telling me about how can I anybody know how to get this off here? Can't stand it. But anyway.
Stop sharing screen. There's a share screen button in the middle, and just hit stop sharing.
Where at?
In the center.
In the center. I don't know.
Yeah, if you just move your cursor at the very bottom.
Yep.
You'll see different buttons like mute, and in the center is the share screen. You just hit there.
Take the PowerPoint down. I can't stand it.
Why?
Or at the very top, stop share.
Okay, hold on a sec, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
See, this is what I mean. This is
Yeah.
how it works, everybody.
Goodbye. See ya. Anyway, oh, now I can see people. Now I'm not talking to a screen. I'm so much happier. So anyway, yep, that's what I live with on a day-to-day basis, by the way, being told what to do. So anyway, yeah, so in 2001, we started Isogenics. We started doing a different company. Hilari did a cosmetic company. But she came home. She was super excited. She had all these boxes all over the house, right? And I was like, what is she into right now? And but it was interesting, you know, she was excited. She kept telling me this is how I'm going to get out of my day-to-day life, or her 8-to-5 job. So I went along with it and didn't really know anything about network marketing at the time. And so when she started doing it, she would go up to her office upstairs and the whole house was cluttered. Her whole office was cluttered with all this stuff. And I couldn't take it. So one day I went out and bought a bunch of shelves and organized her office. And honestly, guys, that was our first system that we ever did, was just getting organized, right? So and then I just kept going along with it. And she did that company for 5 or 6 years, and I just helped. I couldn't really, I wasn't going to wear makeup. I wasn't going to, try to sell makeup because you just don't do that, right? Well, I did anyway. But anyway, so we just worked at it. And then one day I came home and she said she was no longer doing that company anymore. So the problem with that was that was all of our friends, a lot of our families in that. We dress like them, we talk like them, we act like them, and that's everybody we knew. And so when she told me she was going to start this Isogenics thing, I said, there's no way I'm getting involved. No way that, I seen her get hurt in the last company and all that stuff. So I just decided for 2.5 years I wasn't going to do anything. And it's right there on the floor. And so it's just like a revolving door in here. People just keep coming in and out. It's crazy. But yeah, welcome to my house. But anyway, so I didn't, I love the wall, by the way, Nikki. But yeah, so for 2.5 years, I didn't do anything. I just stayed out of the way. And she went to 2 celebrations actually without me. And she just every day was like, Justin, I want you to do this business with me. I want you to do this business with me. And I just kept saying no. And she was so persistent, right? She would make shakes for me. I'd leave the house at 5 a.m. and I worked for a nuclear power company. And I'd leave at 5 a.m. She'd be up, just all go happy, make my shake and hand it to me on my way out the door. And as soon as she'd shut the door, I'd pour it in the driveway and set the cup back up on the front porch. And I did that for a long time till she caught me one day doing it. But anyway, so like I said, I had nothing to do with it. And then I got hurt playing basketball in a pickup league one night, and I missed. I couldn't go to work for 3 months basically. I had knee surgery, all that stuff. And my biggest argument with Isogenics was I never seen her work. Right? I'd see her on the phone and I wasn't paying attention. I'd see these products in her house and I knew she was making money, but I was waiting for it to fail. And I think that's a big thing for a lot of husbands is they're waiting for it to fail. Right? So anyway, in the wintertime, there'd be snow on the ground. I'd see her car had moved in 2 or 3 days. I'm like, there's no way she's working. And so anyway, when I was home for 3 months because I had hurt myself playing basketball and I couldn't work, I seen the day-to-day activities, right? I seen that she was working. I seen she was doing stuff on the phone, all that stuff. And I started getting a little bit intrigued. I started getting a little bit more interested in this thing called Isogenics. And so about somewhere in that time frame, there was a event in LA, and she goes, would you be willing to go to LA with me? So I said, sure. I had nothing better to do. I'd been sitting on the couch for like 2 months, so I was kind of tired of watching TV at that point. So I went to this event, and I seen it for the first time. I seen the whole thing on Isogenics, and I sat in, the back row. I sat like against the wall back row, right? I went and got my own chair and put it against the wall because there was people hugging each other and high-fiving and clapping. I was like, there's no way I'm doing this with these people. These people are crazy. But so anyway, I was like, oh, this is just another one of those companies. And, everyone was happy, all this stuff. I'd seen other conferences, all that. But Jim Coover got up and talked comp plan. And when Jim got up and talked the comp plan, I and I've been around business a little bit, and I know a little bit about comp plans and stuff like that. And I said, okay, I get this. I get why she's so excited. It took me 2.5 years to understand why she was excited about it. So when I seen all that stuff, I was like, okay. We flew home, and she was like, didn't you love it? Didn't you love it? I didn't say a word. I was like, there's no way. I still wasn't convinced. Even after seeing Jim, I wasn't 100% convinced. And I seen and the other thing was a lot of the product transformations. And that kind of got my attention as well. But I got home, and I decided, I hadn't told her yet, but I was not going to go back to work. And I decided on the flight home that I wasn't going to go back to work. So I went home, did all the stuff, quit my job. And I went and quit my job, and then cleaned off my desk, all that stuff, and come home and told her that I just did all that. And I was like, you better have a good plan, because this is, I was never going to leave that job, right? That was my lifetime job. And so when I did all that, I came home, and I started working the business with Hilari and Isogenics. Well, it'd been 2.5 years since I'd been out of that industry, so a lot had changed, right? Social media had started to kick in, this technology that we have now, stuff like that. So it was a lot different than what I'd remembered it being. And the other issue too was, Hilari was a good incomer in the company. She was in the top 50, I think, by then, in the company. And so I was trying to play at her level, right? She was building this business. She had all these executives, all this stuff was happening. And I was literally brand new towards Isogenics. So the problem was I was trying to work at her level, but I really didn't know anything about it, right? So I'd missed all the beginning, all the early steps. And for people that at home that have husbands or spouses or whatever it is you're trying to get them more into the business, you got to start at the beginning with them. You literally do, because they've never done, they've probably never coached somebody. They've probably never been to a sip and sample or whatever. I call them launch parties, whatever. A lot of that stuff, a lot of the easy, mundane stuff that you guys think is easy, they don't know the basics, right? So that was super hard for me, is trying to learn all that on the fly while we were really frustrated. That was probably the worst time in our marriage was trying to work with Hilari, honestly. But because I was frustrated because I didn't know what to do, and she was frustrated with me because I wasn't working at her speed. Does that make sense? So along that time, it's hard when there's nobody talking back to you. But anyway, along that time, I started realizing, I need to start all over like I'm a brand new customer and build it that way. And that's what I started to do. But along all that happening, I realized one thing. I knew Hilari's goals. I knew our team's goals. I knew our family goals, but I didn't have a goal. And until you can have a goal, you really don't know what you're doing, right? So I had to go out and find my own goal. And that actually took me quite a while because I wasn't really sure what my goal was. I just knew that I quit my job. I'd done all this stuff, and I was literally lost. I had no identity, and I had some other businesses, and I thought that's what was going to set me to my own identity and, have all my friends there and all that. But, that was falsified. I knew that's not where I wanted to be. I knew that's not what I was supposed to be doing, but I was just kind of doing the mundane thing every day, just trying to fit in wherever I could. And so when a guy, Travis Garza, it was me and Travis Garza and Hilari in a car one time, and he came to Kansas City to do an event with us, and Travis was talking, and he asked a simple question. He goes to Hilari, how long are you going to keep doing this? And Hilari said, I want to quit now. Not literally quit, but she goes, I wish Justin would take some of this over so I could be home with my 4 kids more. And that's when I realized what my goal was. I needed to step in. I needed to do more. I needed to participate more so she could be at home more. And that's, in the last 2.5, 3 years, that's what I've done. That was about 2.5, 3 years ago. And that's when I realized what my goal was. She'd worked so hard to build all this, and I was kind of, I wasn't taking advantage of it, but I wasn't doing my part. And so that's when I realized I had to get more involved and I had to work hard. And that started literally at the basics. That's when I started participating in launch parties, helping out. I had to learn how to coach people, guys. I didn't even know how to coach people all that well. And get out, Emerson. And so just the simple things, the simple things. Doing a Zoom call, I still hate them. But anyway, I don't hate them. It's weird when no one talks back to you. But anyway, so just doing those little bitty things is what got me going and got me excited. And then we introduced the Rise Up 2 years ago. That was one of my favorite things, because something that I wanted to introduce and wanted to put into this was a way to get guys to events with their spouse, right? And but not in the big atmosphere, not in the broad atmosphere to where nobody knows each other, nobody can help each other. So we started Rise Up, and that's just gone nuts. We didn't think it was going to be, we really didn't know what we were going to expect out of it, and it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. But what's cool about it is I know the ladies have their thing, and I've never sat through a ladies' day, but the guys, just getting to meet all the guys. What was cool about it was there's so many different personalities. You got medical professionals, business professionals, and then just blue-collared workers, all in the same room, all with the same goal. That's what's fun to me is, people that normally wouldn't get along, they're getting along and they're having fun. So, not that they wouldn't get along, they just don't really have much in common, right? So we're using this network of business to bring all these different types of people together, and that's what's fun for us. And it's been a little bit different. Another thing too is about right about that same time frame, I started to kind of get more involved, and we were in Las Vegas, I believe it was Las Vegas or San Diego, I can't remember. But I was talking to somebody, and this computer just made some crazy screen. I'm just gonna click out of that. Can everybody put your thumb up if you can still hear me? Okay, we're good. I don't know what it means. Huh. See ya. But anyway, so it's not my computer. But I was talking to somebody, a friend of ours, in a hotel room, and they'd asked a question about the business. And I was talking, and Hilari came in, and I'm not saying it's bad about Hilari, and it's as bad as it sounds, but she came in the middle of a conversation. She didn't get the gist of the whole conversation, and she goes, "You don't know what you're talking about. You've never built a business." And I'll talk about ticked off unit. But so I kind of got mad and walked out of the room and all that. And I was pretty mad, actually. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought she was right. I'd never built a business. And but I was right about the conversation I was telling that person about, just so everybody knows. But anyway, and I proved it later. But anyway, so we did, in all of that, I realized she was right. I had never built a business. I had never done all the steps that she had done. So, and that was also kind of the firing moment of okay, let's get this going, let's get started. And I wanted to quit every day, guys. I seriously, because it was so frustrating, because I wasn't good at it. I'd never done anything that I wasn't good at. And a lot of people do stuff because they're good at it. And I've had several different types of businesses, and I failed at some of them, but I just kept trying harder and harder. But this was, the hardest thing I'd ever done. Not just the rejection side of it, but for a guy to work with women and try to recruit women and talk to women and coach women, it's a struggle a little bit sometimes for guys. So I've never been in a business where I had to work with women, one-on-one. And you guys have a lot of estrogen going on sometimes. I'm like, holy crap. But anyway, a lot of emotions as well. But anyway, so I had to learn how to deal with all that stuff as well, right? But what I realized was why women were so good at this industry is because they're networkers and they know how to network. And that wasn't really me. I'd never really had to network in anything. I was always the guy who just told people what to do in my jobs, and they did it, or I found somebody else, and you can't really do that here. So you can, but you won't be very successful probably. But so I had to learn how to network with people, And that was a little bit hard at first. But a good scenario is for guys and girls is, I've watched Hilary do this 100 times, is she'll go talk to somebody and say it's about Isagenix, and they'll have a 45-minute conversation about their life, their kids, where they're from, everything, right? All these common grounds. They're just building this common ground before she'll ever talk about Isagenix. And guys are totally the opposite. You know, they go and they have this conversation about what they're there for, what they're talking about, and then they move on to the next thing, right? And I had to learn how to communicate. But what was more important is I had to learn how to listen, you know. For me, it wasn't, you know, it was hard to learn how to listen a little bit because, so what I learned is at a David Wood event years ago in Belize, it was you always ask people 5 questions. When you ask them 5 questions, I feel like I'm in the computer. Let me back up. So what I learned was I always ask people 5 questions, and that could be, how's your day? Where are you from? Whatever the scenario, wherever you're at, the grocery store, whatever. So I ask them 5 questions. And what I realized doing that time and time again was it's the first time a lot of people have ever had a chance to talk about themselves. So by doing that, and you can figure out whatever you want to figure out from people, you know, as long as you're asking them questions. And they'll talk and talk and talk. We've held up grocery lines just chatting sometimes. And that's how I learned how to network with people and talk to people and communicate. And so that's been, you know, if I have one major takeaway, that's the one thing that I'd say for guys is learning how to network with people and talk to people. I feel like I'm missing something that I wanted to say, but yeah, right. So what else is there? We talked about goals. Talked about networking with people. I should have made a list, right? That's what I needed Hilary to do for me. But anyway, what else is there? I'm trying to think. I was just flying around the house before I got here. Events, you know, events are the, you know, that's where I see so many guys. A good buddy of mine, his name's Chris Michaels in Michigan. That's where he got excited. You know, his wife had been building this business for a while and doing this business for a while, and they have a busy life. But when Chris came to an event, that's when he's like, okay, I get what you're doing. I understand this. I'm getting excited about it as well. So what else is there? You guys want me to open it up for questions? I don't know how to do it, but I'm going to try to figure it out. All right. Somebody tell me how. Unmute.
Okay, this is Nikki. I'm not going to ask a question. I just want to make a statement that Tad, you know, I was also in that same company as Hilary before, so he didn't really have anything to do with me in that. But in this one, he loved going to the 2-star retreat that you guys put on, and like being around all those guys was his highlight of the year. Like he was like, finally there's something for the guys. So I just would encourage everybody to get to 2-star to go to that so their husbands can go and like experience that, and they finally felt like he has a little tribe, you know. So I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, and that's it. And you know, but what's also important is, you know, and I remember him, but that's a good event. But also what's important is, you know, getting your spouses involved. And how do you get your spouses involved? This is what I was going to talk about. So, you know, when Hilary used to just tell me what to do, and if you know me very well, you don't tell me what to do. That just turns me away, right? You know, I'm not going to listen to her, as you heard earlier. But right, but so what I realized along the way was she would ask for help on certain scenario things, you know, if let's say if we're running a promotion, or if there was going to be a bunch of guys at a guest event, she would ask me to go just to, you know, talk to the guys or whatever. And that's when I realized, you know, that's what I'm good at. I'm good at supporting and helping and doing all those things. But when she would ask me to do something, I would be excited about doing. But when she'd tell me to do something, like tonight, I found out about 5 o'clock that I was doing this call tonight. So it's like, awesome. The only reason I found out is because I picked up my phone and I seen the Facebook post. I was like, thanks for the heads up, by the way. So anyway, but that's my wife telling me what to do. But anyway, but what I realized is and this is how we started working with people, and we're seeing some great results out of it, is if you go tell your husband how to build this business, how to do this, how to participate, how to do all these things, they're not going to get excited about it, or whatever spouse is. But the more you ask for their help and the more you talk to them about it, all these things, that's when you can get them more, get them more excited. You ask somebody for their help, and they'll help you out. But if you tell them what to do, not always the case. And then the most important thing, this is what I was going to talk about, the most important thing that changed our relationship in this business was, and it happened pure by accident, we just started having a conversation every night for about 5 or 10 minutes about isogenics. And what I've realized, and we've been doing that for probably 3 or 4 years, and almost regularly every night we have some kind of, and it started by planning our day. What do you got going tomorrow? What are you doing tomorrow? And then it turned into an isogenics conversation, and we just kind of look forward to that conversation every day. And but that conversation, guys, if you have a spouse that's not interested in isogenics right now, or they're not open to it, start having that conversation, because I learned more about the products, more about the comp plan, more about our people and our downline. Seriously, just by she would talk about so-and-so is doing this and doing that. And then I would actually learn, and then she started putting, I call it Facebook into this. And then I could understand, and I could see the people, so I could visualize it even more. But so that conversation is really I got more out of that than looking on the back office. I got more out of that than watching all the videos. We learned so much. I've learned so much from just the little conversations that we've had. Doing sip and sample parties and all that. She'd come home and she'd be so excited. Oh, I met this person, blah, blah, blah. This person's going to be awesome. And you ever know when your husband or spouse is not paying attention because they're still changing the channel, right? That was me. And so I had to relax from that and start listening. And that's when it got exciting for me, is when I started seeing what her vision was and understanding, why is she doing this, at an extreme level all the time? And it was because she just wanted to help more and more people all the time. So I'm going to unmute the line. So you guys, if you have any questions, we can cover them. I'm really good at answering questions. I just hate it when no one's talking back to me. Uh-oh, I muted it all. Unmute. Hold on. Okay. How about this? How about I mute all, and then can you unmute yourself? Can you do that? All right.
Yeah.
Learning on the fly. Low tech. Okay. Anybody got any questions? Not all at once. This is awesome.
Thanks, Justin. That was very helpful.
I have a question, Justin.
Hey, Mary.
Hey, so my husband is very much like you, and I'm not even in the same realm with Hilari. I mean, I'm just a consultant at this point, and I'm not sure what I'm doing, and he's like you. He's supportive, but he doesn't know what to do, and I don't really know what to tell him to do. So, because I'm trying to learn as well. So what would you maybe suggest? I mean, I know he wants to be involved, but, he's trying to build another business, and because he just lost his job after 36 years. So he's kind of, out there trying to figure things out. And so what would you suggest? Because I do want to involve him, but he's kind of like you were in the beginning, sort of, well, okay, but I have no idea what to say to people. And then he goes, oh, should I say something else? I don't know what to do. And so what do you suggest?
Okay, so for me, I'll give a good scenario, right? So for guys, I tell people about isogenics all the time. I was talking to a guy earlier about this, and a guy and his wife about it, right? And this is what I did early on when I didn't know the answers, all the answers. I still don't know all the answers. I'm okay with that, right? So I would talk to people about isogenics a little bit and what we do, all that good stuff. And when they would want more information than what I know, I go, you know what? I don't know everything that my wife knows, or I'm not real familiar with all this stuff, but my wife does. And especially with women, because the problem with guys and working with women is it's a little bit uncomfortable sometimes. So I was just openly giving them Hilari's contact information. I go, this is my wife, Hilari. Information, this is their cell phone. her email or text or whatever social media contact. And that's how I, started talking to people, because I didn't know the answers, right? So I knew she knew the answers, and I knew they would be more open to talking to her. So that's kind of how I just started recruiting people and talking to people, was knowing that I could give her information out, and she'd be like, who is this person? Where'd you meet them at? Right. So that's how I got involved in recruiting people, was using her contact info for a not a way out of the conversation, but a way to make sure that I didn't say too much, right? Or say the wrong thing to the right person, or however you say that, right?
Right. Okay, that makes sense. All right. So just tell him to talk to my wife, and, here's her contact information, and she can tell you more about it, and just leave it at that.
Yeah, and I don't carry business cards. I don't believe in them. In the fact that, because I don't know how many business cards I've got in my life, I just throw them away,
Right.
Or I lose them. 99% of them I just lose. So with all the technology, most people have a smartphone, so you can just give them that information really quick. So that's why I don't carry business cards, and it's easier to, they'll put that business card down, but if you send them a text, or you get their information, they give you your information, have them send you a text to make sure you got their information, and then you just text them back. If you haven't heard from them in 24 hours.
Okay, yeah, and maybe a three-way too.
Mm-hmm.
That might be. Although I go to Holly for three-ways, so I'm kind of like, it's kind of like we're newer, so it's we're trying to work it out. But okay, cool. Thanks.
Cool.
Hey, Justin, it's Bree.
Hey, Bree.
Hey, Justin. Hey, I'm gonna let Chad say something. Is that all right?
Yeah.
I think he has something really good to add.
Awesome. How's Chad today?
Hey, Justin. How are you, buddy?
Good.
Hey,
good.
Talk a little bit about, I can, and two, one thing I learned at Rise Up actually is, for men, for husbands to be, more involved, that can mean and look like a lot of different things. Like you said, networking doesn't necessarily always come easy for men. It does a lot easier for women. But one thing that I found very helpful for me is helping Bree be involved in the business might mean, not necessarily doing events or doing Zooms, but it might mean doing the laundry, helping with the kids, cleaning the house, to where she can devote more time to do what she needs to do and do the networking part, which she's way better at that than I am. And the time she can spend doing that, versus doing the house stuff, which I can easily be doing on the back end. So I think there's a lot of things that, being involved in the business can mean just from that aspect. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So Chad's exactly dead on right. So at first, when I came home, I was looking for stuff to do because I was bored stiff. I had never not worked. I'd never not done anything. So, and that was just me, but people that are still working all that, the issue lied at first for me when Hilary would say, I'm going to go do this meeting, and she was gone for 3 hours, right? She's gone 2-3 hours, and I was like, where did she go? What's she doing? And, I wasn't used to that, right? And that's a lot of, I don't know how many people I've heard say, she's, my wife's always gone, or said she'd be gone for 30 minutes. She's gone for 2 hours. And that's when I realized, okay, she's working, and for a lot of guys, that's the worst thing, is when they're gone for a long time. And, but I did realize the same thing, Chad, is just doing the little bitty things around the house, putting the kids to bed. Hilary's on Zoom calls probably at least one night a week, 2 to 3 times, if it's not a Zoom call, it's a coaching call, something like that. And I've gotten used to just, I help out at, say it's 8 o'clock when she does a call Central. I know that, that's my night to get the kids to bed, and I pick up the kitchen, and I do the little things like that, because, so she didn't have to do that stuff. And it is a little bit frustrating sometimes, especially when you're new. You feel like she's working all the time, or he or she's working all the time, and there's not a whole lot of revenue coming back in. There's not a lot of money. So make sure they understand that you're working to produce an income. It's just, it's not a girls' party, it's not a guys' party, whatever it is, you're actually working. So explain those things, show your spouses the comp plan so they realize, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm trying to achieve, versus I'm just going to be gone again. I'm going to go talk to this person. I've been on the phone for 2 hours. Make sure they understand what you're working to. Use the executive chart, for instance. I love the executive chart for the simple fact that it is a physical thing you can hold and show people what you're trying to do and show them the money you're trying to earn, right? And then that's the easiest way to show your spouse the comp plan is the executive chart. You start showing them videos and pulling stuff up on the back office, that gets a little bit crazy. Just show them the executive chart and show them the bonuses. And if you want to do a video, do you share, they share, repeat. That's the most simple video out there and it's 100% duplicatable. If you have a spouse that understands money, like talked about, like Chad that was just talking, he's a very intelligent person. And but he probably has, when he was new, he didn't have time to learn it all. But that's a video Bree could have given him. And it wasn't out then, but Bree could have given him that you share, they share, repeat video, and then it's 100% duplicatable. Does that make sense? So use the tools. The Cougars and Isogenics have spent $2.5–3 million a year on, I don't know if it's a year, but they a lot of money every year. I know one year they spent like $2.5 million on the tools, and they were frustrated because nobody uses them. Okay, so take advantage of the tools. It's 100% duplicatable. It's easy to use. But make sure your spouses understand what they are and how to use them. Does that make sense? Awesome. Anything else? Anybody got any questions? This is awesome. I don't really know how to shut this off or do anything like that. I'm trying to think of anything else. We're doing some fun stuff. Understand, I'm working with some people on launch parties right now, guys. I'm just going to go into a couple other things real quick. Launch parties. I just talked about your wife or spouse being frustrated with people being gone at a launch party. But I want you to understand the benefit of a launch party, okay? Versus social media. So many people are stuck in this social media area in their life right now that to me it's a little frustrating, because when we started in 2001, we didn't have all that stuff. So we've done it, Hilary always says belly to belly, right? But understand that I literally have watched people build on social media, and they're basically getting one recruit, and then they're on social media for a long time, helping the other person get the second person. And then they go back to the social media trying to get another recruit. And it takes them a long time to build, and it's a slower process for most people. Not all people, but for most people, it's a much slower process. And some people that we're working with right now we're doing this fun thing with launch parties. And I really want you guys to understand the benefit of a launch party. You can literally take the same amount of work that you're doing on social media and use that to your benefit in a launch party in 45 minutes, guys, because when you understand the volume and how the volume flows, and you can be a master recruiter, and if you're a master recruiter, that's great. If you recruit 15, 20 people a month, that's amazing. But here's the thing, it's always going to be a full-time job. Until you can help those people, your associates, your personally enrolled, get their 2 people, their 4 people, their 6 people, it's always going to be a full-time job. So if anything, especially with the holidays and the New Year's coming up, all those good things with the pools and the bonuses, how all that works, really work deep into your people. Understand that just because they're not a personally enrolled, it's not somebody you can work with. Go to your back office, under your people, look at that, and look at those people. And if they're ordering product, do a launch party for them. It's that simple. I don't care if they're 4 people deep. Chris and Lori Harder are not personally enrolled. I see Carly Tana. I can't talk tonight. I apologize. She's not a personally enrolled, but we'll still help people. We'll still do a lot of stuff. Bree and Chad, they're not personally enrolled. All these, tons of people aren't personally enrolled, but we're still willing to help. That's why we do this Zoom call, to make sure we can help any way we can. You don't have to be personally enrolled to build your business, because really all you're doing is growing volume, right? You're growing volume down your legs. So it doesn't, you know, if you're paid as executives, you may not get the match, 10% match that you would get on a personally enrolled, but who cares if that person 4 down, 5 down goes executive and goes 4-star? Does that make sense? You're going to get a whole lot more volume than the person that is a personally enrolled that's fighting to stay consultant. So work with those people. You have associates, consultants in your downline that you don't know, and you see that there all this volume's going through them, go work with those people. So just understand that, especially through the holidays. I know there's a holiday bonus pool things coming up. I think the 15th, 14th, 12th, something like that. That'll be paid out. So understand all that stuff. We got celebration or NYKO come up. Work with, try to get as many people to that event as possible. Try to get as many spouses to go. Our favorite thing about events are, especially with anyone on here with kids, is that's our chance to get away from everybody in our house. You know, we have 4 kids, so anytime I can get out of here, I'm happy. But no, seriously, that's a great time just to. Don't tell them you're going to do this isogenics thing and we're going to sit in this conference for 4 days and all that fun stuff. Just say we're going to go to Phoenix. I got to do this isogenics thing for a couple of days. Let's go on a little mini vacation, right? And that's really what it turns into for a lot of people. And what happens is the spouse usually gets bored and they show up one day because they have a ticket. And then they just learn a little bit more. That's pretty much what Hilari did to me. That's how she got me to my first event. She tricked me. So trick your own spouse, right? So anyway, but fun, right? But what else? Anybody have any more questions? Nope. Jessica, you don't have anything?
I don't. You covered everything. And if people haven't seen your video from Celebration, it's amazing, on your spouse. And one thing that you said to me that really hit hard was if your spouse is at home with your kids, they're supporting you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Jessica.
Talk about our spouse is not supporting us, and that can be a huge, huge thing.
Yeah. So at a lot of events, people always ask me, they go, they say, Justin, I wish my husband or whoever was more open isogenics like you are. And I'm like, well, you're here. You know, if you're here at an event where you're doing an isogenics thing and your spouse is okay with that, with or without kids, whatever, then be happy that you have that, because there's a lot of people that don't have that. Seriously. 16 years in this industry, I've seen some of the best people quit because their spouse was not open to them doing this industry, being gone and all the stuff. I could name you 10 people right now that could have been, 6-figure earners in this company that quit because the home life was so bad. And so if you have a spouse that's okay with you being in this industry, and even though they're not into it like you are, just be happy you have that. And so anyway, so cool. Anyway, Davidson's, I see you all snuggled up. You got nothing? No? Awesome. So, all right. Well, I'm going to log off here, and you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Hi, Kim. No baby yet? Nope, she don't care. All right. So anyway, all right. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving, and recruit your whole family. So anyway.
Thanks, Justin.
You guys have a good night.
No baby till March. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yep. I log off.
Mom, I get that.
Peace out.
Yeah, peace.
He does.